I'm Todd A, and for the past 20 years, I've worked as an attorney in the state of Florida. I started my career as a prosecutor for the state, did that job for about 4.5 years, and ever since then I've been in private practice, practicing exclusively criminal defense. And I've been asked to talk to you today about the Constitution. What is it and why is it important to this day? The Constitution is an agreement, it's a contract between the citizens that are governed and the government. It's an important contract, and it's in-depth, and there are many areas of the agreement that remain in effect. The areas that I want to talk to you about are the Bill of Rights, some of the constitutional fundamental rights that citizens have that the government cannot violate. And one of the most important rights that we have under the First Amendment is the right to free speech, to be critical of the government, or to say things in support of government policy, to criticize members of the government, to criticize religions, to criticize a specific religion, to criticize a doctrine, a political doctrine, an ideology, or in the same manner, support any of those ideologies or ideas that you agree with. In other words, your right to have an opinion in favor or opposed to virtually any area that the government is involved in. You have that right, and it's an important right, because that's how the sentiments of the citizens can be reviewed by the government, whether they're doing a good job, a bad job, whether policies need to change. An incredibly important right. And the government, just like any political entity, just like any person, is always attempting to chip away at a citizen's rights, to limit their ability to be critical, for example, of their policies. So they'll create something, for example, called a free speech zone, which implies that you're not allowed to have free speech outside of a particular zone if somebody wants to protest or a group of people want to peacefully protest. The government is always trying to limit an individual's rights, and we can't allow that to happen. Particularly the First Amendment is incredibly important to voice your concerns and objections to government policy. The Second Amendment, for example, has to do with an individual's right to possess and bear a firearm for lawful self-defense purposes. That's a right that's guaranteed by the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Another area that I want to discuss a little bit more in depth leads me to the Fourth Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is a citizen's right to be free of unreasonable search and seizure. This is a critical right that allows you to have privacy over your person, your property, your home, your car, the things in your life that you find private and you want to keep to yourself. You have the right to do that unless, for example, the government is able to obtain a warrant to search your home. And there are some other exceptions that may apply that have been carved out. But the general principle is you have the right to be private and secure in your person and property. Well, this is an area that the government has really begun substantially to overreach. What's happened now, and it's come to light, is that virtually every email, text message, phone conversation, virtually all of our communication is now being stored by the government without a warrant. It's simply being stored under some legislation that the government has passed, which is clearly violative of the Fourth Amendment. However, it is taking place, and it's of great concern. This information is being held, it's being gathered, and it's being kept by the government in violation of the Fourth Amendment, and involving virtually every single person that is living in this country. These are significant issues. This is important. You have a right to your privacy. You have a right to confidential discussions, and yet the government has decided that they are going to violate your Fourth Amendment rights and store and keep that information. These are important issues as we look forward to political races, to the future presidential races. And the problem that is happening in this country, there's a lot of distraction and there's a lot of deception. And you know, everyone is concerned about their favorite sports team and what players are doing well. And it's interesting or fascinating or unsettling that most people can name all their favorite sports team players, but they can't tell you a single member of the Supreme Court. They can't tell you who the Speaker of the House is. They can't tell you who their own congressman might be. And that's a real concern. We need as citizens to begin taking these matters incredibly seriously. So when you're making your decision who to vote for, ignore a party policy. parties tend to funnel down special interest money to particular members of the party. You don't get a true sense of the ideology of an individual by simply looking at the label that's placed on them. You need to look at the politician and decide, is this a politician that cares about the Constitution, that's going to fight for the Constitution? And this is an issue that I want to express to people. Those of us, and we all should be, that are concerned greatly with the erosion of the Bill of Rights and the rights that we all share. One of the things the government will do to, as I was talking about earlier, to try to suppress your speech, to undermine criticism of the government, they'll label somebody, for example, a constitutionalist, as if that's a bad thing, a person who wants the government to uphold the rights that we are all guaranteed. Well, here's the ultimate irony, the ludicrous nature of that assertion. Every politician, every police officer, every member of the military, I as an attorney, at least 2 times as an attorney and as a state attorney, had sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution. Everybody that functions in government, every judge, every civil servant has required to swear an oath to uphold the Constitution. So for the government to levy that as a criticism, that someone wants the government to uphold the rules that apply to them, is absurd. It's absurd. And it's an attempt to marginalize, and it's an attempt to discredit people who care and who understand the rights that are guaranteed and that the government is constantly trying to take from us. So don't let that criticism happen. Be prepared for that. If the response to anyone who might levy that criticism is, but haven't you sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution? How can you not abide by the oath that you swore under oath to do so? So when we look forward and we make our decisions about specific politicians that we want to support, look to those that are interested, that are dedicated, that are determined to uphold the constitutional rights of this country. For example, Senator Rand Paul is a big advocate and a major advocate for constitutional rights. And I would ask the citizens that are looking forward, whether you're in Iowa, whether you're in New Hampshire, whether you're in a Super Tuesday state, look at Rand Paul's dedication to upholding the Constitution. And I think if you do that, you will see a man who's got true integrity, who's got the support of people that are citizens that understand the incredible power that the government has. And I believe you will find Rand Paul will be the best president that we've had in the history of this nation. And I ask you, please support him in this upcoming election cycle. Thank you very much.